Welcome back. In the last episode, we talked about the rules and some great guidelines of using AI, what to be aware of, what to avoid, and how to stay grounded in your own thinking while using it. And today, we want to make this land because it's one thing to talk about AI in theory, and it's another to show you what it actually looks like in everyday life, how we use it, where it helps, where it doesn't, and what this looks like in real human moments.
Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I weave them in my song.
Before we get into specific examples, we realize that we tend to use AI in a few consistent ways. Not for everything, not all the time, but in these specific moments where it actually adds value. So you can think of this as the 4 ways we use AI. Number 1, to clarify, Nicole's favorite. Number 2, to expand. Number 3, to refine. And number 4, to process. And we're going to walk you through what each of those actually looks like in real life. So first of all, let's dive into to clarify. When your thoughts, your wardrobe, your travel, your skincare, your pretty much anything feels messy. There are so many moments where you know what you're trying to say, do, or create, but it's just not coming out clearly. Your thoughts feel tangled. You can feel the idea, the concept, the plan, even the end result, but you can't quite articulate it. This is one of the biggest ways Jen and I use AI, not to create something from nothing, but to take what's already in our minds and make it clearer. Here's an example. I have this idea for a podcast episode, but it feels scattered. Here are all my thoughts. And then you just brain dump. There's no structure, no pressure. And from there, asking, can you help me organize this into something that's more clear and cohesive so that listeners are lost all the time? What's helpful here isn't that it's giving you new ideas, it's helping you see your own ideas more clearly. And then you still go in and adjust it, move things around, and make sure it actually sounds like you.
Yeah, and you have to tell it what you want the end result to be because it doesn't know. So really clarify what it is that your goal is.
Yes.
Yeah. Now let's dive into expand. And this is for when you feel stuck. This is for those moments when you feel a little limited in your thinking, not that you're wrong, just maybe stuck on one perspective. An example might be, here's how I'm currently thinking about this situation. Can you show me a few different perspectives I might not be considering? Or even, what am I not seeing here? This is where AI actually becomes really helpful as a thought partner, not because it tells you what's right, but because it opens things up. It gives you more angles to consider, and then you get to decide what actually resonates. I'll give you an example, not to put it out there and tease anybody, but I'm going to be writing a book here pretty soon. And
Yay!
can I tell you, when you think of all of the things that need to go in a book, does it have to happen all at once? Absolutely not. So I recently used AI to help me come up with an outline that makes sense to move from beginning to end, an outline that helps me really decide and clarify what will go in this? What is important here? What might wait for the next book? What is the point that I'm trying to get across? What do I want the audience to know? And it just helped give me structure. It helped with an outline. Of course, it's not writing my book, but it was really able to put, here's what the introduction might look like. Here's what chapter 1 might look like. Here's where you're going to put your experiences in. Here's what this might look like. And then I get to go, yeah, that makes sense. Or actually, this should go here. That's where it's a thought partner. But it took all the messy out of my brain and it put it somewhere for me to be like, yeah, or no, for that matter. But it really helped me tighten up the idea so that I can get those thoughts on paper. That's the most recent example of when I needed to get unstuck in my thoughts.
I love that. So let's discuss to refine. when something needs to land better. This is probably one of the most practical uses. When you already have something written or something you want to say, but you want it to feel more clear, more aligned, or more like you. I love this for when I'm feeling frustrated with a personal situation. I will put in all the data I have and then ask for help understanding the other person's perspective and then how to move forward in a win-win situation. I'm naturally reactionary, so this can be very helpful to refine my reactions.
I really like that.
And it gives me that sounding board to take the time to calm. I wrote this message. It feels harsh. Can you soften the tone while keeping the boundary clear? Or can you make this more concise but still warm? I tend to lose my warmth personally.
Yeah.
And this is really helpful for communication, writing, anything where tone really matters. Again, the key here is you don't just copy and paste. You read it, you adjust it, you make sure it actually reflects what you mean. I can't tell you how many times I've said to ChatGPT, yeah, that sounds nothing like me. Let's try it.
Yeah. It'll give words and I'll be like, yeah, I would never use that word. So I know what it means. I would just never put it in a sentence.
Right.
That's where I go, okay, I get where you're coming from. And here's how I'm going to change it. Yeah.
That's funny.
You know, Nicole, I'm coaching a 6U and an 8U soccer team. And I tell you, my kids get the direct mom coach. And then I recognize that other parents aren't like that with their children. And maybe Jen, coach, who should be coaching teenagers, is sitting here coaching 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds. And I'm sending a text and I go, ooh, that's not a great tone for parents who might not parent like me. I definitely throw those in there and ask for...
It might need a little refining.
These parents, I just picture them going, wow, coach, they're just 4, relax. Yep. Oh, thank goodness for AI. Okay. Now it's time to talk about to process. This is when you need to think through something. This one is a little more personal, but it's also really powerful. So using AI to help process thoughts or emotions. Now, we're not using it as a replacement for real reflection. That's really important. This is a way to guide it. Did I mention this in the last episode? I used this in my interpersonal relationship when I was working on learning the Gottman ways, the process. And should I be putting a response to my partner through AI? Well, when I was really trying to learn how to come into the Gottman process, because that is what we committed to as a couple, I didn't know it yet. And I really needed to be able to process through how I was wanting to say what I was saying, but also how I was processing through what my partner was saying. So being able to put these types of messages in and have the AI help me understand, you would say this because of this. We want to summarize, we want to validate, we want to respond. Is there anything else? Until I really got that process down, I needed help. I was learning. We're always learning. That is an example of when it really helped me process through the way that I needed to continually respond. And it became very helpful in our situations. But here's an example for you guys. You could say, I'm feeling stuck in this situation and I can't fully understand why. Can you ask me a few questions that might help me think through it? Because sometimes we get caught in our rumination brain and we're like, no, this is the only perspective. So if we use it as a thought partner, it's helping us understand maybe what we're missing. Another example might be, here's what happened and here's how I'm feeling. Can you help me make sense of this? It's going to pop in some perspective for you. And what's interesting is it often gives you language for the things you couldn't quite name yet. This is so key. If you've been following us for a while, you know I have my wheel of emotions. It's important to be able to name things. So AI is helping us name things that we couldn't quite yet. And this really helps in our clarifying language. This is though where you also want to stay aware, because this is your inner world. AI can support that process, but it shouldn't replace your own reflection or your own real life conversations. We don't want to replace our own real life reflections.
Yeah, I actually had this exact thing happen. We were at a family event. I was really upset by a situation. I was like, I need to figure out where everyone else is coming from, not just myself, because I want to learn from this situation. And I'm also mad and I feel like I'm valid in my anger. I typed the situation in because, yeah, I would have put it in a forum. Here's what's going on. What do you all think? But I would have gotten people's kind of biased views. When I put it in ChatGPT, I felt like it was a little less biased, but it said, yes, I understand what you're feeling because of this, this, and this. And I was like, that's why. And I hadn't thought about it that way. But then it also said, how are you moving forward? And it was, how do I have the real life conversations? Because that's what the whole point is I now need to move forward with these people because I love them, care about them and their family. How do I do that? Because that's my job. It's supporting me in my decision to how do I make that conversation happen? Here's what I'm going to say. I'm not reading it to them. I'm having the conversation. It's giving me those ideas of how do I have that real life conversation now? When we have real life conversations with some perspective in them, they're more beneficial.
Absolutely. When it can help us, because really, and again, we've talked about this, there are very specific methods to go through effective communication. And it really is summarize and validate. Now, we know that validate does not mean agree. But sometimes it really is hard to see somebody's side when we're so stuck.
Especially when you're mad.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I was heated and I thought, I am not having a conversation with someone right now because I don't want to hurt someone's feelings, but I need to do this somehow. It's like, give me my phone. Crazy, but help me process through it.
Good.
Where we don't use it. We also want to be really honest about where we don't use AI because this is just as important. Big personal decisions. I let ChatGPT share options, especially when we're talking about interpersonal stuff. We're talking about ways people approach things. And then I make the decisions that meet my deep emotional truth. I always ask, does what AI wrote feel true for me? If yes, I bring it forward in the conversation. If not, I ignore it and discard it. It's got to be me. I'm the final voice in creative work. It always has to feel like me. It always has to feel like it came directly from me. I'm a very passionate person and I love stats and data, but not everyone else does. I also love feeling the warm and fuzzy, but I sometimes can't articulate it. And AI can help me with that, like approachable kindness that I sometimes lack. We might use it to explore options, think through possibilities, but the final decision that stays with us because there's a difference between clarity and knowing what's actually right for you.
Yeah. I really do love it when AI brought something up that I hadn't thought of at all. And I go, oh, well, let's explore that avenue because that's brand new to me. Is it right for me? Yeah, that sounds right, but I hadn't thought of it at all. Being able to explore that is really fun, but absolutely keeping the final decision yours.
I love that you brought that up because I think sometimes there's some clarity that needs to be had. Let me give you an example, not AI. My husband and I, we're big readers. We're always trying to impress each other with fancy words. And the goal is really to expand our vocabularies so that we use words because the human brain has a tendency to use a certain number of words and we kind of stick with those. So we want to expand our vocabularies. That's learning. Well, AI can help us do the same thing without having to do a crap ton of research sometimes. I can learn something quickly and then I can say, hey, does this feel right to me? And then incorporate it, like what you were talking about. I think there's a clarity between letting it make decisions for you and letting it help you learn to be more authentic to who you are.
Yeah. My kids are very young, and this must have been just last week. We were talking about don't believe everything you see because AI is out there making videos and you don't know what is real anymore. I actually feel bad for this generation because it's kind of a mind fuck. It's like, wait, but I'm looking at it. What do you mean that's not real? Coming from where we came from, where none of this existed at all, it's really hard to say, but I saw that. And you're telling me I didn't see that at all.
And the flip side is the real life amazing things that happen. People are just going to think they're AI.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a little sadness in that too. Yeah.
Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. AI is the exact same. It's gathering literally all of life and putting it in front of you. But that doesn't mean that it's real and it's going to be helpful for you and what you have going on. Everything with a grain of salt. Let's talk about what we keep, what we change, and what we ignore. So one thing that's been really helpful is not taking everything it gives us at face value. We must be constantly filtering. There are things that we would keep. There are things that we would tweak. And then there are certainly things that we would just completely ignore. Sometimes it's 80% helpful. Sometimes it's 20% helpful. Sometimes it misses completely. And I'll tell you, that pisses me off because I feel like it should know me by now. But that's okay because the goal isn't perfection. It's actually support. Sometimes our human contacts miss too, but we don't stop asking them questions or advice. We just learn to filter it out. I tell that to my kids all the time. You see something you like, you know it's right in your heart, adopt it. You see something you don't like, don't adopt it. It's pretty easy. Does that serve me? Does that not? Yeah. It's the same thing with AI.
I respect your opinion, but no.
You don't know me at all.
Yeah, I appreciate that input, but I'm going to go a different direction. Yeah. Thanks anyway. Yeah, we do it with people, so why not do it with AI? So I want to talk about a real life example. This is how I use AI for travel. Okay. This is probably one of my favorite ways that I use AI, and also one of the places where it's been the most helpful in real life. I travel a lot, and not just quick trips. I'm taking longer trips, sometimes a month at a time, multiple locations. And when I travel, I have a very specific goal. I want to see the highlights, yes, but I also want to go deeper into the things that I and the people I'm traveling with actually love. Step one, I start with a location. And I use AI, especially in bigger cities, to help me pinpoint the good areas to stay. Not just the touristy areas, but the areas that actually fit what we want our experience to feel like. I don't know these cities. I've never been there. I don't know what's the good area and the bad area. After we come up with some areas, next I work on asking better questions. I move into what we actually want to do. And one of my favorite prompts, this is one you guys can take and use, is, what do you need to know about me to create my perfect vacation in X location?
Oh, I love it.
Yes, because it's great for this. I have put this in multiple times. What I love about it is it flips the dynamic. Instead of me trying to figure out the perfect plan and to know what to tell it, it's now going to tell me, hey, and here's some of the questions it'll probably say. Do you like to shop? Do you like to see nature? Do you like to see history? It'll ask you these questions, and then you answer them, and it'll know you better. It starts asking you better questions, which I love. Mm-hmm. Number 3, we build the foundation. From there, I get a general sense of the highlights, the experiences, the things that actually interest us. Then I decide on where we want to stay and choose between an Airbnb or a hotel. After that, I will refine. And this is really where it gets deeper, because we all value different things when we travel. Mm-hmm. Some people want to relax on a beach, play it by ear, keep it super open. That is not me. I want to leave a place feeling like I saw everything that really mattered to me. And if I never go back, I'm good with that. So my conversations with AI around travel, they get long, like really long. If I'm going to multiple places, I'll sometimes start a new thread and ask it to recall my preferences from the previous thread. At this point, though, it actually knows my travel style pretty well. Unless someone new is joining us with different preferences, I don't have to re-explain much. Then it becomes this back and forth. I'll throw out ideas I've heard about. It will suggest things. Then we just refine. Now, balance is always important, even vacationing. This might sound like my trips are super structured, but they're actually not. I do build in time to relax. If we have something planned in the morning, the evening is usually open. There's space to just be, because we all need that. I also use AI while I'm on the trip a lot, especially for things like food. I don't plan that ahead of time because I don't know what I'll be in the mood for. That's just me. Well, ask it that day. And something I'm actually going to start doing more of after our discussion last week is asking it to recommend restaurants like a local.
Yeah.
Now, you might prefer restaurants based on expert reviews, specific food guidelines. I've used certain vibes I'm looking for. Whatever you want to ask it. Now, when plans change, this is where it's been incredibly helpful for me, because things don't always go as planned. We were actually in Rome, and at one point my husband said, I'm kind of done with the crowds. Can we do something with fewer people? Of course, I'm the travel agent. Let's just be real. I went, oh boy, I don't think we've been anywhere with fewer people. I pulled out my phone, grabbed my ChatGPT app, and we started talking through options. We ended up doing a bike ride along the Appian Way, which is this ancient road that Roman soldiers used to march in and out of the city through. And I think on the actual Appian Way, we maybe saw 15 people, and we probably went close to 20 miles.
Wow.
So my husband got exactly what he wanted. But this day actually ended up being one of the most magical days of our entire trip. I can honestly say 100%, I would not have come up with that on the fly without that ChatGPT
nice.
support. So it was awesome. And it was an amazing day. Yeah, we saw those 3-story aqueducts, just like ruins. You're riding your bike and there's just ruins on the side of the road. I was like, this is so incredible.
That is very
This is
cool.
amazing.
This is like better than a personal assistant.
Absolutely. It was such a fun day, but yeah. So let's talk about when AI gets it wrong.
What?
Yes, AI is not perfect, you guys. There was a time in New Zealand where it told us we didn't need a reservation for this glowworm caves in Waitomo because it was a weekday. It was like, you're fine on a weekday. Well, we woke up that morning. We had a rental car ready to drive us to these caves and everything was booked.
Oh,
Couldn't get in the caves. Okay, I was very bummed. There was a moment. But when I got it together, we adjusted. We booked a different tour for the next day. And we ended up exploring a few other incredible spots in the meantime because we had a car, which AI helped us find.
Oh, nice.
That we wouldn't have done otherwise. I said, here's where we are. Here's where we're willing to drive. Here's as far as we want to go. What are some options for us? And we ended up in some really amazing places. It was better than originally planned. Sometimes that happens. Now, I have heard that AI sends people to like places to see things that don't exist. It's never happened to me in that extreme, but it has misses. It's obviously faulty too, but it helps. I share all of this because this is how deep I personally go with it on travel. I genuinely love this kind of planning. And I know not everyone is going to want to go this in depth, but even if you don't, there are still so many simple ways to use AI to make your travel smoother, more personalized, and more aligned with what you actually want to do without it taking over the experience.
Yeah, I love that because it really does make it yours. I know you said this in our first episode, and you and I referenced ChatGPT quite a bit, but there really are so many different AI versions, Google and different paid versions. I couldn't tell you all of the names of all of the different AIs. Yes, Nicole and I use ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is not the only AI that you have access to. Now, there are other ways that people are utilizing it. You can take a 14-page document, feed it into AI and say, summarize the main points for me, and it's going to spit out bullet points and the cliff notes. You remember being assigned a book and you're like, I'm not reading that book, but I'll read the cliff notes and write a report on it. Yeah, so AI can do stuff like that. There are a billion different ways to utilize something like this.
Absolutely.
I actually used it. A contract was being proposed to me and I went, what am I missing here? I took the entire contract, I fed it into AI, and I said, what's in it for me? And it very clearly was like, this is not set up for you. This is very much set up for the other person. These are the points that I want you to take a look at. If you did want to respond to this, this is what I would suggest in the negotiation. And I went, that just saved me 4 days.
Yeah, because you would have researched it, but you would have had to do it all on your own.
Yes. So that was very helpful.
That's a really good point. I am in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do with my bathroom redesign. And I said this last episode, I interchanged the words AI and ChatGPT just because it's the app I personally use. By the way, I got a new phone recently, and I think there's a built-in AI. I haven't really explored it yet. Just FYI, I think the new phones are coming with built-ins. But anyway, so I'm trying to design this bathroom, and I was trying to find a 60-inch vanity that would work for me. So I Google, and I'm looking through them all, and I'm like, this is so time-consuming. Then I go to ChatGPT. I'm like, okay, here's the style I want, and here's what I don't want, and here's what I do want. And it came up with 3 options, and then it came up with 3 options, and then 3 options. So it gave me 9 options. I was like, I like this, I don't like that, I don't want that, I don't want that, and here's why, and blah, blah, blah. And within 5 minutes, we had the perfect one picked out for me. I was on Google for 45 minutes before that.
Nice.
Trying to find something I liked. So I'm like, you know what? Sometimes it's just easier for it to do. I mean, I remember doing research for vacations and having to read all these blogs and all these things and all these. It took a lot of time. And this just makes it so much quicker and easier.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh. You just prompted me to remember. I was working with a real estate client and they needed to paint their house. And they were like, well, what do you think? And I went, well, anything but what you have now, it would be great. But you can't say that. So you're like, let me check. So I input pictures of the home. And I told the general thought, I want to go two-tone. This is what I'm looking for, beachy vibe. I uploaded a couple of photos and it went, great. Here's the deal. If you want this kind of vibe, you're going to use these colors. It went ceiling, trim, wall color, accent wall if you want one. And it gave me not only the paint names, but the numbers that you have to take. So I was able to walk into Lowe's and be like, I want this, this, this. I didn't have to have a little sample with me or anything. They knew exactly what to mix up. That's what we got, and that's what we painted. I was like, oh, beautiful. Because I would have had to go look at paint chips, like, oh, I don't know, the exterior, and then the trim could maybe be this blue, but it could also be this blue. And oh my gosh, it just made it so much easier. You look at it and you go, yeah, that's probably what I would have picked.
I'm doing the same thing. My friend owns a paint store, so I got my samples from her and I put them on the walls. And one of the colors, I'm in love with this color. I'm like, oh my God, this is my new favorite color. I'm doing a lot more because this color is so fantastic. The other color, I'm like, honey, what do you think of that? And I didn't say a thing. He's like, do you like it? I was like, do you like it? It was ugly. I was like, that is a horrible color. So one of the colors was like such a perfect hit and the other one was a miss. But you know what? That's why you get a sample, right? I'm not just going to go in and start painting the walls because AI said, hey, this is the color you should use. No, I'm going to get a sample. I'm going to try it. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, that feels like me. That's the color I've been looking for. Or like, oh, miss.
Yes.
Move on.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was telling Nicole earlier that if anybody were to watch me on my computer and not see me, but just hear me talk about the way I am with my computer, they'd be like, oh, she must be like in her 70s. She probably learned computer technology later. And I'm like, here I am at 44. And I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I was very slow to start AI because I was like, what do I need this for? But once I started using it, oh my gosh, all of the different things. There are ways you could use AI and you never thought about it before. I made my kids a word search puzzle on AI.
Oh, that's cool.
Give me 50 lines up and down and here are the words I want hidden in it. And it went done.
That's awesome.
I was like, this is better than screen time. So now we're doing a word search puzzle. Okay, I mentioned that I'm coaching a couple soccer teams. With AYSO, everybody has to play a certain amount of time. I go, okay, here are all the kids on my team. Give me the game time. Who's going in, which quarters. Now I know exactly who's going in when, and everybody's getting the equal playing time because I didn't have to sit there and go, oh, wait, that person was in too much. AI did that for me. There are so many different ways that you can use this. And here's the other cool thing about AI. If you don't know, you should just go in there and, hey, I'm thinking about this and just see where it goes.
Yeah, ask it what can it do. So I have a little goal. I would like every single person over the age of 60 to have access to some sort of AI on their phone. I've heard many stories of seniors being scammed.
Yes.
And I just simply want you to know how to use it so that you can go in there and say, here's what someone is asking me for, and here's the scenario. And it will tell you if it's a common scam.
That's interesting.
Sometimes people don't want to admit it to a human. Mm-hmm. This is not a human. It has no judgment. Someone's asking me for money that I don't personally know. Check it and see if it's legit.
Yeah.
Because I know people who have lost everything or more. So,
oh my gosh.
Just check, please, because they're so smart.
Yeah.
I mean, scammers almost got my 32-year-old son. These guys are good.
Oh my gosh. I had never thought of that. That's great, Nicole.
Yeah. Just to double check.
My parents' age, we're pushing late 70s. They're like, I'm sorry, trust a robot? You're joking with me. They got such a late start to the computer game. And I'm like, yeah, but it's okay. So we recognize that there might be a little trepidation to getting in there sure. and understanding what you can or cannot trust. So again, everything grain of salt, but it does take the entirety of the internet and give you the information that it has. Check it out. At the end of the day, the way we use AI is actually pretty simple. We don't use it to replace thinking. We use it to support it. We don't use it to create our voice. We use it to help us hear our voice more clearly. Maybe sometimes to help others hear us more clearly. And we don't use it to make decisions for us. We use it to see things from more angles before we make decisions. So if you're starting to use AI, or even if you've been using it for a while, maybe just notice, where could this support me without taking away from me?
Let's do some takeaways.
I like hearing all of the ways people are using it. I'm very often like, I never would have thought about that. That's great. And why don't I think about taking everything to it? Because I'm not there in my mind. But my kids will be, which is such an interesting thing. Oh, this is a newer technology in my life, but my kids are going to grow up with it.
Yeah. They're going to have the opposite issue, which we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that it gets to know your voice. And that might sound strange to folks that are newer to it. Like, what do you mean it gets to know me? That sounds a little creepy. You get to tell it who you are and what you want. And it can come back with very cool things that may help. I love that it could possibly open up new worlds for people, or new ideas or new perspectives. In that case, I really like how we're using it. Also, equally important, how we're not using it. I'm really glad we touched on that today.
I would agree with all of that. I love the concepts of clarify, expand, refine, and process. It's so intelligent of us to outsource some of the information and to admit, I don't know enough about this. I want to learn more. I want to know more. My natural tendency is to want to learn more about this and be inquisitive.
Yeah.
I feel like AI makes it easier to be inquisitive because of what it has access to.
Yeah.
At this point, if we're inquisitive and we're not using AI, we're going to Google. I mean, how many people are going to the library, looking up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just not at that point anymore in our lives. So here is something that can give us concisely internet information, which we all know is not 100% correct, that it can be that thought partner. Who else are you going to ask? A human? Because their information is, I guarantee you, not 100% correct either. We know how to filter that way already because we do it with the people we know. We don't take everything our friends tell us as 100% fact. We take it at face value and we go, okay, there's probably some truth in there. Let me figure some things out, or go to some trusted resources. But I just feel like this is such a good way to integrate all of that clarify, expand, refine, and process. I love having that accessibility because I know myself. And to be able to say, okay, I know I'm overreactive, I'm harsh, and I don't want to be that way in this situation. Help me through this. Is a valuable thing. And being able to have that in my pocket. And then I can say, yeah, that sounds legit. Or you know what? That sounds like BS.
Yeah.
Let's redo that part.
Yeah. That it can be such a massive time saver, though, also in this very busy world that we live in. We as humans are expected to do and be so much all at once. If you could use AI to outsource just a little bit, hey, this is what I have in my refrigerator. What recipe can I make for dinner tonight?
Yep.
And there are classes you can take to learn AI. There's all of the different ways you can learn to use it. Just figure out a way that it can serve you, just like anything else that Nicole and I talk about.
Yeah. Let's go into our questions.
Questions.
You want to go first?
Duh. My 4-year-old started saying that. I was like, oh, that's my fault.
Yeah, that's one we want to pass on.
Yeah. Okay. What, Nicole, is the most out of character thing you have ever done?
My goodness. The most out of character thing I've ever done. That's tough. I'm pretty in character all the time. Okay. I'm not a thrill seeker at all. So I will go with, I jumped out of an airplane.
Woo!
I would never have done that on my own. My son had suggested it, and I was like, hell no, I'm not going skydiving. Because I'm not a thrill seeker. It's just not really my thing. I'll zip line. No, I'm not a thrill seeker. But I was in a class, and they challenged us to do something that scared the hell out of us. And my son had asked me like 3 months before I started the class, and he was kind of bugging me. He was like, come on, let's jump out of a plane. And we had to do something personal. So I was like, you know what? If I jump out of the plane, that's the personal thing. And then I did my thing for the class. So, okay, I'll jump out of a plane with you. And I did.
Wow.
Because I would never have done that on my own. Never.
All right.
That's probably the most out of character thing I've ever done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one. It was a perfectly
pretty out of
fine
character.
plane, not on fire or anything.
No, it was not a perfectly fine plane. My husband calls it a soup can with wings. It was like an unfinished inside of a plane. It was a pilot, and then me strapped to a guy and my son strapped to a guy, and that's all that fit in there.
Yep.
I was like, this is not a fancy plane. But I actually enjoyed the experience. That was good.
All
But no, I
right.
jumped out of a not so perfectly good
Okay.
plane.
The plane that was made just for that type of thing.
Yeah, I think I should get out of here quickly.
Oh, nice. All right. So if
Yes.
we see Nicole flying out of an airplane, we know that something's going on.
That will never happen again. I was like, done. Not in character
Okay.
at all.
Good one. That fits.
There you go. My question for you, Jen, is if you could go anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go?
I know the exact answer, and it would be the south of France. That is the next thing on my, I must be there now.
Where particular in the south of France would you like to go?
There's a sleep story that I listen to sometimes on the Calm app. I've mentioned the Calm app. I use it almost every night. There is a story from one of the voices that I really like, and it's a train that goes from Monaco station into Nice. So Nice is in my mind, but essentially kind of all through the coast. I would like to do it on foot, by car, by train, by helicopter. I just want to be there. And I have had this fantasy of owning a little chateau in the south of France that's overlooking vineyards that I don't have to take care of, with the coast out there. It's very similar to the big island of Hawaii in my vision, but it's in France.
Nice.
I just love the green rolling hills with the coastal backdrop. It just sounds like my version of heaven. That's it.
There you go. I hope you get there soon.
Me too. Okay. In the next episode, we are going to go deeper into these ideas. How to use AI in a way that actually helps you become more yourself. Not more polished, not more optimized, but more clear, more intentional, and more aligned. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Write your lines with